Afternoon everybody, it's Saturday the 17th of August and we're just cutting some inciter feed wheat here in Buntingford in Hertfordshire. I'm on the combine today because Jim, who I work very closely with, although we're separate companies, has gone on a christening, so Graham's come off the combine to let me have a go today. Whether that's wise or not is another thing, but yeah, we're just here cutting here at Buttermilk Hall Farm. We finished all the milling wheat 5 days ago. We've got about 180 hectares left to combine of wheat, and that is harvest 2024 done for us, so we hope to be done by Tuesday night, weather dependent. So we'll just see how that goes. So yeah, no, we're sat here in a ideal 9T. This is our second season with it. Previously we had an 8T ideal. We took on some more land and we needed the extra capacity, so yeah, the reason we had the ideal combine was because we not only did we purchase it over 5 years, but it came with 1,250 hours 5-year full Fendt AGCO warranty. So it was just a case of knowing your costs really when buying it. Class couldn't give us a 5-year warranty at the time. They were only willing to give us a 3-year maxi care deal, and also the Fendt was slightly cheaper. We run all Fendt tractors anyway, so our relationship with Crawford's is good. So that's the reason we went down the route of the ideal. We demoed it, it was fantastic, we got on really well with it. If my total honest opinion of the ideal combine is, it's a fantastic machine, it does a great job, but we do have niggly problems with it, sensors falling off or sensors packing up, which is quite common with a lot of this modern day machinery. We've had no real major breakdowns. We've only ever lost a couple of hours here or there, and 9 times out of 10 Crawfords can come to the combine in the morning before we start combining, just to fix a sensor. Normally if we know what sensor it is, we can keep an eye on the machine and keep going on. We've got the 40-foot power flow header on this, so it's a belt header but not a true flex header, so it's a rigid header, but it has belts bringing the corn into the auger. Some of the nice features on this ideal combine are that we've got ideal harvest, where it will adjust everything on the move and let you do it. At the moment I've got it in harvest. What have I got it in? I have got it in, where are we? I've got it in Harvest Plus, which is done on the load of the crop going up the front of the machine. And yeah, I've got my parameters are set. I'll show you here. My parameters are set. 2.8k is the slowest, 4.6 being the fastest, and we're doing 4.5, 4.6 at the minute, so maybe we might play about with that in a minute. And then here you've got the iPad, which is linked to the machine, which tells you fuel usage, engine RPM, engine load, speed, tons an hour, tons a hectare. The reason you can't see the spot rate is because I was meant to map this field out, and when I went round, got to the first corner, I pressed stop instead of pause, and it voided the boundary. So at the moment, because the combine thinks it's working outside of the field, it won't actually give us a spot rate, but there we go. Moistures are quite low. Moistures are down to about 10.8% at the moment, which is really dry. And when you work on, 1,000 tons of corn, or even 100 tons of corn, you're losing 5 tonne down from 15% of produce. So it's quite a lot, and it makes quite a big difference to your yield, because really your yield is sort of 5% down. So just say you were doing 10 tonnes a hectare, you'd be down half a tonne a hectare at those moistures, which isn't ideal, but there's nothing we can do about it. Let's just be thankful that we're not having to dry any wheat. This is our 3rd year of growing inciter wheat. It's always done very well for us. We haven't really had spectacular yields this year. If I'm being honest with you, our best stuff has been my home farm at Burwell, where we've averaged 9.4 tonnes a hectare of X days. Group 2, we managed to get the protein on it as well, which was fantastic. So that's what that did. And then on the heavy land, we haven't really done much over between 8 and 9 tonne a hectare. Whether that's due to the amount of rain we've had and heavy clay, even though this is drained, holding the water, and not allowing, affecting the crop's growth and its ability to uptake nutrients. I don't know, but it's looking that way when all of our light land, i.e. chalk ground, has out yielded the heavy land by about a tonne a hectare, if a tonne and a half a hectare, which is quite considerable, to be fair. Our X days here on heavy land at Buntingford has done about 7.8 tonnes a hectare. That's second wheat. It's got full protein, which is good. So at those sort of yields where it's sort of, I think 50% of it's been sold for 240 pounds a tonne. Well, at those yields, to compete, you need a feed wheat to be doing sort of 11 tonne a hectare to gross the same output at today's prices of like 170 pounds a tonne for feed wheat. So even though it was a lower yield, we've managed to get a good price for it, which has meant it's a fair gross margin in the end. Right, so as you can see, guys, we've got a Grain Saver premium chaser bin, which we hire from Richard Furby up north. This is our 3rd season of running the chaser bin, so everything is going into lorries straight into Rand Brothers at Royston, or it goes into Camgrain at Linton or Wilbraham. 90% of what we do goes into Rand Brothers at Royston, whether it be our milling wheat or whether it's our feed wheat. The Grain Saver has been a fantastic bit of kit, to be fair. It costs us, I think Richard charges us £6,000 a season to hire it, and touch wood, we've never had a problem. I mean, when you look at it as a piece of machinery compared to a grain trailer, it's nearly as much to hire a 18-20 tonne grain trailer for the season. And also it's a lot easier to load into than loading into a grain trailer, because you've got a bigger top to it, so there's more margin for error, should I say, especially when I'm driving the combine. We've just dumped 9.5 tonne into the chaser bin in, how long would you say, Matthew? A minute and 20 seconds? Yeah. I'm Graham, I'm the resident combine driver normally, but today we've had a bit of a change up. Tom's on the combine, I'm doing the chasing with the Grain Saver, which is actually quite a cruisy number. I'm not too disappointed I'm having a day off a combine, that is for sure. Obviously Tom's probably talked you through already quite a lot to do with ins and outs of the 9T. But normally I do tend to drive it on a daily basis and maintain it. Everyone always says, what's it like? Is it the business? The simple answer to that is the same as any other machine. It's brilliant when it's working, 100%. But it is a machine at the end of the day, and it's a slightly new concept to the world of combines. They're still ironing out little gripes and one thing and another every year with it. But it's just, it's a bit quirky, and it's because it is a little bit different. You guys got to learn about it. And sort of now, after 3 years of driving an Ideal, I would sort of like to think I'm sort of know what I'm doing with it. I like it personally. Other people that I've spoken to that have driven them had a bit of a bad time with them, and I think a lot of that has resulted from potentially bad marketing, because they market the Ideal as a low maintenance machine, which it is to a degree, but we haven't really particularly had many great issues with ours, and that's because I sort of maintain it as if you would any other combine, apart from you don't have to blow it down, which is amazing, because you don't have to spend the whole rest of the day itching your nuts off. If you do, maintain it to a standard, it seems to look after you pretty well, really. Grease it on a daily basis, even though it says, oh, you need to do these 50 hours, you need to do these 100 hours. I just give them a couple of pumps every day, and everything sort of seems to have been fine, really. But the backup we get, that sort of really does make the machine. Crawfords are fantastic with their backup, and that really do keep the wheels turning. If we have an issue, I can liaise with the combine specialist with them, and 9 times out of 10 we manage to work out the fault and keep going, really. And if it's something a bit more sinister, we have not really had any major issue. Oh, we had a final drive decide to itself last year, which was a bit annoying, but I managed to catch it before it had completely blown itself to bits. Spoke with Dan, and he's like, right, that's going to have to come back to the workshop, we'll send out the demo machine. Well, this happened in the evening. The demo machine rolled in by 8 o'clock the following morning. They low-loaded that one away, and then worked on it that day, and by 10 o'clock the following day it was back again, all fixed, and then we ran 2 just for the crack for the whole day, and that was good fun. That kept the chaser being extremely busy for the day, running the 2. I think we were pushing the best part of sort of 140 tonne an hour, so that was pretty cool. But as a whole, I like the concept of the Ideal, and I think it will improve over the years. They've got, they've worked out where the problems are, and I think in time it will become a far more popular machine. It's not a class, it's not built like a class, but I'm sure they'll work out what they need to beef up with it, because some of it is a bit cheesy, and it does like to rattle itself to pieces, just because they've tried to keep everything a bit lightweight, really. But I'm sure they'll get there on that front, really. So during the course of the winter, I spend a lot of time doing like the estate maintenance side of things around the farms. Any jobs that need to be done, ditching, tree shearing, building roads, and putting some pipe work in, and this and that. And a lot of the, I undertake quite a lot of the maintenance work, fixing and stuff, and fabrication side of things.
Tom really wants a new shed, wants to buy a new shed workshop, and I'm more keen just to build one. Keep people in the yard busy over the course of the winter whacking a new shed up, but I think that's wait and see what happens really on that one. We also need a grain store, so we need to decide, well, Jim needs to decide where that's going to go and who's going to pay for it. But let's put our things in the pipeline. Springtime I tend to get on with a lot of the cultivations, because the tankers are up and rolling by that time, and we're sort of slightly more limited staff, because we haven't got harvest staff in by that point. So springtime can be pretty busy. This spring was exceptionally busy with doing ravens, with all that sugar beet. It was quite an undertaking, deciding to do all the ditches, all the hedges, rip it all up and get it ready for sugar beet in the space of what felt like a week. But we did it, and we've learnt over the years with the ditching and the shearing the worst way of doing it and the best way of doing it, which, you know, the first year we'd done that, we had to work out the best way of doing it. Because we definitely got it wrong. Because it felt like I was clearing up sticks for months. But now we got that down to a bit of a T, really.
Thank you for everybody that has viewed the channel so far, and also thank you for our 1,200 subscribers as well. Hopefully, as more and more of these videos go on, you find some of the content useful and the information good, because that's what we're doing it for. Although for finding good quality staff, it is also to give some information back into the industry about what we're trying to do and achieve, and also about Digestate. For instance, this crop here has had 100 kilos of N, and then it had 100 kilos of nitrogen through Digestate, which also gave it P and K and sulphur. I don't know whether to believe the yield monitor at the moment, but it's saying that this particular field is actually yielding 11.6 tonne a hectare average. I will let you know at the end of the clip when we finish the field, because we'll add up the weighbridge report, which we have on WhatsApp, because every load that goes over the weighbridge, the weight's put onto it. So in a couple of hours we'll let you know what the yield is. Hopefully it's right, but for some reason I don't think it's right, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong a fair few times in my life. So yeah. So today my brother is on his quad track with the Turano. Ian's on the other quad track with the subsoiler. Graham's obviously on the chaser, been here with me. Jack, Sam and Ivan are on balers, and Todd and Will are on chasers. Miroslav and Paul, they're both out on their tankers emptying lagoons onto farmer's land that's going into oilseed rape, or is either already drilled in oilseed rape. Standard rule of thumb there is 20 cube a hectare of Digestate, which is giving the crop of OSR 60 to 80 kilos of N, depending on how much rainfall the lagoons have had in them when the Digestate went in, because obviously water will dilute the Digestate, whereas delivered and spread straight from the plant is pure Digestate. So we have N testers that we test the N every day. It's a handheld machine where you put a sample of Digestate in and put it with some reactant, which then gives off a gas, which then tells you the N level in the product, so which is very useful, and we find it very handy when trying to get an accurate application rate for the amount of N that the farmer requires for whatever crop we're applying Digestate to. Next year we're not going to grow inside to wheat. We're going to drop it, and we're going to stick to Group 2s. We're going to grow Palladium and X days, just while the premiums are good. You know, if you can get a 60 quid a tonne premium at 13%, and you know you only make 12.5, 12.6, or even 12.1, you know, you're just £1 a point down per tonne from 13. So the premiums are worth chasing. We've got the Digestate as well, so it makes sense to concentrate on growing, although it be Group 2s, not Group 1s. We're going to carry on growing them because we've achieved proteins on everything we've grown this year so far, and 90% of it's been over 13%. So yeah, we're also going to have a go with the new I think it's KWS Cheer variety, which is potentially a new Group 1, but they're not going to classify it as a Group 1 until they've done the bake. They've baked the flour to see what results they get, and I think they're looking at doing that in September. So even though we're going to be putting it in the ground at end of September, we'll probably have it in the ground before they've made a decision on whether it is a milling, going to make Group 1 milling or not. So that'll be another interesting one to look out for. We'll probably put 200 hectares of it in, and it'll turn around and it'll be feed. So that's normally the way our luck goes, but there, we're gonna give it a go this time and see how we get on. We'll be growing King's Barn hybrid barley again this year. It's always done well. That did 9.1 tonnes a hectare this year. So again, barley, although it be normally £30 a tonne less than wheat, it's a good early combining, good entry for rape, or where we're putting stubble turnips in, we're then getting an income from sheep grazing. So we have a guy called Charlie Randall from Dunstable, who brings me sort of roughly 1,500 lambs end of October, start of November, and he pays me 60p per head per week for each sheep. Normally they're here for 12 weeks, so it's another reason for growing the barley, is because obviously, although it's not as sorry, I'm just picking up some flat wheat here on the overlaps. Although it's not as lucrative as growing wheat, you know, we like the sheep poo in the winter where they're grazing, and then putting the fertiliser back in the ground. What we tend to do is grow the stubble turnips after barley, and then once the sheep have grazed it, we'll digestate it, plough press it, and it will go into sugar beet. And that's what we've been trying to do for a while now, and it's working very well, to be fair. So we're getting like a catch crop in the middle between two crops that we're earning out of at the same time. We're also going to be continuing to grow maize. Continuing to grow maize for the AD plant here in Buntingford at Buttermilk Hall, and we will grow sugar beet. But as you all well know, the price of sugar, although British Sugar have headlined the price at £33 a tonne, by the time you've taken your £1 a tonne insurance off, that brings it back down to 32. You only get paid for 75% of your total tonnage on your contract at 33, well actually 32 after the insurance is taken off, and then the last 25 I think is somewhere around £30 something a tonne. So when you actually look at it, it's £31.50 a tonne. We've been growing 1,000 acres this year on heavy land to be lifted in period 1 in September, just as the factory opens. with £31.50 a tonne for sugar beet next year, we're not going to grow any on heavy land, as the risk of virus is still high. We don't know we're going to get near Nick seed dressings next year, the cruiser seed dressing, and the risk of virus and, you know, weather and everything that contributes to having a good or bad crop. You know, you could be lifting sugar beet in September. I'm not saying we will be at 45 tonne a hectare if you go and get virus or we have a drought. So at £31.50 a tonne at those sort of yields, even at 60 tonne a hectare, you sort of break even on a contract farming agreement, or if you're renting ground, when you take farmers' first charges, or, you know, or paying the landlord a rent, there isn't any money in it. I've done some rough figures with Jim, who I work with, and we reckon that all-in costs for sugar beet are around £16.80 a hectare, with lifting, you know, cleaning, getting them to the factory, dirt tears, all of that caper, chemicals, rent, the whole lot. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work it out. At 60 tonne a hectare, you're only at sort of £1,800 a hectare. Well, for me, that margin between cost and your total output is not great enough for the damage that can be caused through lifting beet if we have a wet season. So we're going to opt to grow, we're going to grow a bit more maize potentially. We've got oilseed rape back in the ground in the form of hyaluronic acid again, the whole hair rape job. So we've got another 400 acres of that this year. Yeah, and we might even grow some spring oats depending on what the contracts look like, because it seems to me that everybody's looking to grow spring oats because they're cheap to grow, and also you don't have a problem. Obviously the flea beetle doesn't affect them, and nor does pigeons. So of course that market can soon be overdone if everybody goes into it. So we'll watch this space over the next couple of months and see what happens.